Today, I'm going to be talking to you about automaticity. What are we looking to gain from in our training? Fitness, strength, resilience, endurance, yes to all of the above. But there's also a few aspects, though, that are critical components of performance. A little bit unseen, a little bit, let's call them the shadow side. Performance, then, is the whole reason we prepare. And what we look for in performance is really automaticity. We want to be able to rely on our bodies to do what we've trained it to do. We want it to bubble up through the performance without too much psychological and physical effort. Durability is another label for the underlying resilience that we depend upon to provide us with another important, tangible aspect of racing. And that aspect is called trust, self-trust. So it's consistency and intention that drags us towards this automaticity, this durability, this resilience, and ultimately the end byproduct, which is trust, which is an essential aspect of racing well, stably. So what we do physically is important. Sure, we're a product of it on race day. Bad form is bad form. So if in training, at least it's my opinion as a coach, we ought to slow down enough to learn how to train with great form and to learn how to train at speed for low oxygen cost with a sense of being able to relax. That's creating a stable, well-grounded athlete who's confident. Psychologically, it's exactly the same thing. Automaticity demands the grounding and the stability in your perception of what is happening here now. No point in being physically strong if we're mentally weak. They need to mirror each other. They need to be one whole. So what is the upshot, Giles? Be stable in training. Be stable in training psychologically grounded, psychologically stable, so that your physical training is matched by your unflappability. Is that a word? Is unflappability a word? It is in my speak. Anyway, that unflappability leads to your durability, which leads to the physical and mental consistency that you're after on race day, which, by the way, leads to that word we use all the time in sport, confidence, which leads you to the mother of all perceptions athletically on race day, which is trust. Self-trust, the grounded self-trust that arises through the knowledge that you've done all you can. Now, if you leave one aspect out, let's just say you throw the kitchen sink at the physical training and you leave the psychological aspects behind, then you've only got 50% of the deal. And I'm not kidding. We've talked a lot about how much is physical and how much is psychological. Forget it. Forget it. That's a concept. At least that's my opinion. It's a concept. It's an idea. It's an ideology. It's a philosophy. There is no 50% of this and 50% of that. There is no 70% of this and 30% of the other. There's just a whole. And you, the athlete, are that whole, energetically, psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually. The whole thing is one channel of energy. So we need to get the channels to inform each other that we have the calm, that we have the stability, that we have the durability, that we have the resilience, physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, every single way you can look at it. Because on race day, that automaticity requires your absolute attention. Because where energy goes, or where focus goes, energy flows, right? We know that. We've spoken about that over and over again. This ability for us to channel this energy into something solid, into something stable, that requires us to not judge what's happening. That is the definition of automaticity. That is the definition of durability, of endurance, of resilience. They come up on race day through your emptiness, through your silence, through your unspoken confidence that you know that you've done all you can, so that on race day, you're a stable, well-grounded athlete. There's a whole deal here. There's a whole athlete perspective. And that perspective gives you the perception that brings you to the edge of trust. Once you get hold of trust, then our potential becomes unlimited. And sometimes I'm held down for this, this idea that we're not limited in our potential, but I honestly don't believe we are. Sure, we have our personal limitations, but those limitations are also bound up in the way we think and the way we limit ourselves and the things we tell ourselves, which informs the body that we have limitations. So we go to the track, and instead of concentrating on form and relaxation, we're concentrating on what we can't do and the speeds that we can't meet and the form that we don't have. So we make this choice, right? We make this proactive choice to be either engaged or judgmental. And when we're engaged, we're moving towards durability, automaticity, and confidence, right? And when we're in judgment, we're moving towards doubt. We're moving towards fear. We're moving towards these feelings of not being enough to get this job done. And it's a choice that we make, and we make it every single day and every single session. And I'm no different. I do the same thing. I have to check myself. I have to check myself all the time, not just in training, but in life too. How am I speaking to myself? What am I telling myself? You know, what is my body doing right now? Where am I? Where is my body in space? How can I get the best from this very moment that I'm in right now, regardless of what the conditions are bringing? These are the small aspects, all these small pieces that come and segue into the whole that end up in your performance on race day. You're a product of what you've done. You're a product of what you think. So that's why it's so important to explore these aspects of physical and psychological training. You want that durability. You want that automaticity. You don't want to be engaged with a mind that's too busy on race day. There's enough to do. There's enough pressure. There's enough focus. There's enough energy being put out. Make sure you're able to go to the well on that day by serving yourself in training, turning up physically and emotionally and psychologically ready, empty. Leave all your stuff at the gate. Leave what happened at work at the gate. Leave what happened with your wife or your husband at the gate, and make sure that you turn up present. That's all you've got to do. It's not that difficult. We all have this unlimited capacity for focus and awareness and consciousness. Thanks for listening.